She's just the help's child." The bride laughed. Then the little girl called him daddy. The laugh came first. Sharp, pretty, cruel. It floated through the ballroom of the Harrington estate while 150 guests stood beneath crystal chandeliers, watching a 4-year-old black girl in a pale pink dress clutch a tiny silver airplane necklace against her chest. Her name was Ella. She had deep brown skin, soft curls tied with white ribbons, and eyes full of the kind of fear children get when adults make them feel like they have entered a room they were never meant to stand in. Her mother, Jasmine Reed, the maid assigned to help serve at the wedding reception, froze beside the dessert table with a silver tray trembling in her hands. The bride, Victoria Langley, stood in the center of the ballroom in white satin and diamonds, smiling as if humiliating a child was part of the entertainment. "Someone remove her," Victoria said, her voice sweet enough for guests to pretend it wasn't cruel. "She's just the help's child." A few people laughed nervously. No one moved. Then Ella looked past the bride, past the guests, past her mother's terrified face, and saw the groom standing at the end of the aisle. Noah Harrington, billionaire CEO, hotel heir. The man everyone had come to watch marry Victoria. The little girl's eyes widened. She lifted one tiny hand, pointed at him, and whispered one word. "Daddy?" The ballroom went silent. Noah stopped breathing. Victoria's smile vanished, and Jasmine dropped the tray. Because 4 years earlier, Noah Harrington had disappeared from Jasmine's life without knowing she was pregnant. And the only person in that room who had always known the truth was now standing in a wedding dress, realizing the child she had mocked had just destroyed everything. Stay with this, because that one word would end a wedding, expose a lie buried for years, and reveal why a poor maid had been carrying the billionaire's daughter through the back doors of his own mansion. Hey friends, welcome back. Before we step into the story, tell me where you're watching from tonight. Drop your city or country in the comments, because stories like this remind us that truth does not always arrive with proof in a folder. Sometimes it comes from a child's voice, from a necklace kept close to the heart, from one innocent word no adult can explain away. If you're new here, subscribe and stay close, because this story begins with humiliation inside a billionaire wedding, but it ends with justice, healing, and a little girl finally being seen. Harrington House sat behind black iron gates on the coast of South Carolina, where the Atlantic wind moved through palm trees and the wealthy came to pretend old money still had clean hands. The mansion was made of white stone and blue glass, with wide terraces, marble staircases, and a ballroom famous for hosting charity galas where people donated loudly and listened rarely. Everything in that house was beautiful. The flowers arrived before sunrise. The silver was polished until it reflected faces like mirrors. The chandeliers threw soft gold light over floors no one in work shoes was supposed to stand on for too long. But Harrington House had never felt warm, not since Noah Harrington inherited it. Noah was 36, tall, controlled, and handsome in the tired way of men who had learned to turn grief into discipline. He owned Harrington Global Hotels, a company built by his grandfather and expanded by a father who believed affection made men weak. Noah had turned the business into an empire, but inside the house where he had grown up, he still moved like a guest. Staff respected him. Some even liked him. He paid well. He spoke quietly. He did not throw things, did not shout, did not treat people like furniture, but he also did not look closely. Not at the woman who folded sheets in the guest wing, not at the child who sometimes sat in the staff corridor with crayons, not at the silver airplane necklace that should have made his heart stop weeks before his wedding ever began. Jasmine Reed came to Harrington House through a staffing agency 8 months earlier. She was 31, with deep dark skin, calm eyes, and a kind of quiet dignity that made people underestimate the amount of pain she had survived. She wore the black dress and white apron required of event staff, but there was nothing small about her. She was careful, respectful, soft-spoken, and strong in the way single mothers become strong when there is no one else coming. Her daughter Ella was 4. Ella loved airplanes, pancakes, and drawing houses with too many windows. She carried a small stuffed bunny named Clover, whose left ear had been sewn back on twice. Around her neck, tucked beneath her dress most days, was a tiny silver airplane charm on a thin chain. Noah had given that necklace to Jasmine 5 years earlier. Back then, he had not been the untouchable CEO in magazine covers. He had been a 31-year-old man hiding from his father's expectations in a small airport hotel after a storm canceled flights across Atlanta. Jasmine had worked the night desk. She was studying hospitality management, working double shifts, and sending money home to her mother. They met over a broken coffee machine. He was tired. She was kind. He made a joke so bad she laughed out of pity, then laughed for real when he admitted it. One night became two. Two became a week of conversations in hotel hallways, quiet breakfasts after her shift, and the strange feeling that two people from different worlds had found one place where the worlds did not matter. Before he left, Noah gave her the silver airplane charm from his keyring. "For when I come back," he said. And then he never came back. At least, that was what Jasmine believed. What Noah believed was different. He believed Jasmine had taken money from his father and chosen to disappear. He believed the letter he sent was returned unopened. He believed the phone number had stopped working because she wanted it to. He believed the woman who had made him feel human for the first time had simply decided his world was too complicated. Neither of them knew Victoria Langley had been part of the silence from the beginning, and no one in that mansion knew the child had been wearing the proof around her neck. Victoria entered Noah's life with perfect timing. She was 28, fair skinned, blonde, elegant, and born into a family that understood power better than love. The Langleys had social standing, political ties, and old portraits on old walls, but their money was thinning. Noah Harrington was not just a husband to Victoria, he was restoration. She knew how to soften her voice when Noah looked tired. She knew how to talk about legacy around board members. She knew how to compliment his late mother's charity work. She knew how to stand beside him in photographs so the world saw a complete life. And she knew about Jasmine. 5 years earlier, Victoria had been close to Noah's family through business circles. Noah's father had made it clear he did not want his son attached to a hotel desk clerk. Victoria, already determined to become Mrs. Harrington someday, had helped make the problem disappear. A payment was offered to Jasmine through a lawyer, but Jasmine refused it. So Victoria changed the story. She made sure Noah saw a forged note claiming Jasmine had accepted money and left. She made sure Jasmine's calls never reached him. She made sure the address Noah had for Jasmine was replaced with an old one. Small lies, quiet lies, the kind wealthy people use because they leave fewer fingerprints. But she had not known about Ella. Not until 8 months before the wedding, when she saw Jasmine in the service hallway at Harrington House carrying a sleeping child against her shoulder. For one moment, Victoria stared at Ella's face, then at the silver airplane necklace, and something like panic flickered behind her eyes. Jasmine noticed. Mothers notice danger faster than they understand it. From that day forward, Victoria watched them. The first time she spoke to Ella, it was in the flower room, where the little girl sat on a folded linen blanket coloring a picture of an airplane. "What are you drawing?" Victoria asked. Ella looked up politely. "A plane for my daddy." Jasmine, arranging vases nearby, went still. Victoria smiled. "And where is your daddy?" Ella touched the necklace under her shirt. "Mommy says he got lost." Victoria's smile tightened. Jasmine stepped closer. "Ella, baby, finish your crackers." Victoria looked at Jasmine with a quiet warning in her eyes. "Children should not invent stories about men they don't know," she said. Jasmine lowered her voice. "She's 4. "Yes," Victoria said. "Old enough to repeat whatever her mother tells her." Jasmine said nothing. "Because women with rent due learn how expensive truth can be." But Ella looked at Victoria and frowned. "You have cold eyes," she said. The flower room went silent. Victoria bent down slowly until her face was near Ella's. "And you," she whispered, "should learn to stay where staff children belong." That was the first warning. The second came 3 weeks before the wedding. Noah found Ella in the garden after rain. She was sitting beneath a stone bench near the rose walkway, trying to rescue a worm from a puddle with a leaf. Clover the bunny lay beside her, damp from the grass. Jasmine had been called inside by Mrs. Whitmore, the old housekeeper, and thought Ella was still in the staff sitting room. Noah stepped onto the path and stopped. Ella looked up at him. "You're tall," she said. Noah looked up at him. "I suppose I am." "Can you reach the sad flowers?" He almost smiled. "Which flowers are sad?" She pointed to a broken rose stem bent by the rain. "That one. It's trying not to fall." Noah crouched in his expensive suit and gently tied the stem to its support. Ella watched him seriously. "You fixed it." "I helped it stand." She nodded, approving. Then her small hand slipped to the necklace at her throat. The silver airplane charm flashed in the gray light. Noah's eyes caught on it. For 1 second, everything in him stilled. "Where did you get that?" he asked. Ella looked down. "Mommy says it came from someone who promised to come back." Noah's face changed. Before he could ask anything else, Jasmine appeared at the edge of the garden. "Ella." Her voice was calm, but her eyes were frightened. Noah stood slowly. "Ms. Reed, your daughter's necklace, it's just old." Jasmine said too quickly. A keepsake. Their eyes met. There are moments when the past almost speaks. This was one of them. Then Victoria called Noah from the terrace, her voice bright and sharp. Darling, the planner is waiting. The moment broke, but not completely. Noah looked back once as he walked away. Ella waved at him, and something inside him, buried for 5 years under anger and pride, moved. Victoria saw the wave, and that was when her fear became cruelty. A week before the wedding, Victoria ordered that no staff children be allowed in visible areas during wedding events. No exceptions, she told Mrs. Whitmore. The housekeeper, 63 years old and tired of rich women pretending cruelty was organization, pressed her lips together. Some of the staff have childcare difficulties. Then they should find different work. Jasmine heard the order from the hallway. That evening, she sat with Ella in their small rented room behind the estate, brushing out her curls gently. Mommy, Ella asked, why doesn't the pretty lady like me? Jasmine's hand paused. She doesn't know you, baby. Ella looked down at Clover. But she knows my necklace. Jasmine closed her eyes. She had kept a necklace because throwing it away felt like lying to herself. She had kept Noah's photograph hidden because Ella sometimes asked what her father looked like, and Jasmine could not bring herself to say he did not matter. She had told herself Noah had chosen silence. She had told herself not to need him, but seeing him in the garden had shaken something loose. He had looked at the necklace like he remembered. Like maybe he had not forgotten. Like maybe the story was not finished. But hope can be dangerous when you are poor. Poor women learn not to build futures on maybes. So Jasmine tucked the airplane charm beneath Ella's nightgown and whispered, some people are scared of anything they can't control. Ella thought about that, like truth. Jasmine kissed her forehead. Yes, baby. What truth? The wedding day arrived bright enough to look innocent. Harrington House had been transformed into a white and gold dream. Roses lined the staircase. Candles glowed in glass cylinders. The ballroom doors stood open to the ocean terrace, where guests in silk and tuxedos sipped champagne beneath the soft morning sun. Photographers moved everywhere. Wedding planners whispered into headsets. Every detail had been chosen to make Victoria Langley look like she had always belonged there. Jasmine had begged to work in the kitchen only. Victoria had refused. I want her in the ballroom, she said. Let her see what dignity looks like. Mrs. Whitmore looked at her coldly, but said nothing. Ella was supposed to stay with a neighbor that day, but the neighbor canceled at sunrise with a fever. Jasmine had no choice. She brought Ella in the pale pink dress she had bought from a thrift store and carefully altered by hand. White ribbons in her curls, small white shoes, Clover tucked under her arm, the silver airplane necklace hidden beneath the dress. Stay in the staff room, Jasmine whispered. No ballroom. Ella nodded. Even if I hear music? Especially then. For almost an hour, Ella obeyed. Then she heard Victoria's voice in the corridor. She still has it? Victoria snapped. A man answered quietly. Jasmine did not hear him, but Ella did through the half-open door. The necklace. Yes, and the child looks like him. Victoria's voice dropped. After today, it won't matter. Once I'm his wife, no maid and her little mistake can rewrite the Harrington name. Ella did not understand all of it, but she understood mistake. She understood maid. She understood maid. She understood necklace. And then she heard her mother's name. If Jasmine speaks, Victoria said, I'll say she chased Noah for money years ago. No one will believe her. Ella pushed the door open. Victoria turned. For one terrible second, the bride and the child stared at each other. What did you hear? Victoria asked. Ella clutched Clover. You said mommy. Victoria crossed the hallway and grabbed Ella's arm. Not hard enough to bruise where anyone would see, hard enough to make her gasp. Little girls who listen at doors ruin their mothers' lives, Victoria whispered. I want mommy. Victoria smiled. Then let's show everyone what happens when the help forgets her place. The ballroom was filling fast. Noah stood near the altar in a black tuxedo, speaking quietly with his best man. He looked composed, but his eyes kept moving toward the staff entrance, searching for something he refused to name. Jasmine stood near the dessert table, tray in hand, heart already uneasy. Then Victoria swept into the ballroom holding Ella by the wrist. The room quieted because rich people are trained to notice drama while pretending not to enjoy it. Jasmine's face drained. Ella, she whispered. Victoria smiled at the guests. I'm so sorry for the interruption. Apparently, one of the staff children has decided she is part of the wedding party. A few guests laughed. Ella tried to pull away. Jasmine set down the tray. Miss Langley, please let her go. Victoria lifted her brows. Careful, Jasmine, you're working. Noah stepped forward. Victoria, but Victoria was for torming now. And cruel people are most dangerous when they have an audience. She was wandering near the bridal rooms, Victoria said, touching things, listening at doors. Honestly, I don't know why staff bring children into homes like this. Jasmine's voice shook. She's a child. Victoria laughed. She's just the help's child. The words struck the room and hung there. Some guests smiled awkwardly. Some looked down. No one corrected her. Ella's eyes filled with tears. She reached under her dress and clutched the silver airplane charm the way she did when afraid. Victoria saw it. Her face changed. Take that off, she said. Ella shook her head. It's mine. Victoria bent down and grabbed the chain. Jasmine cried out, no. Noah moved, but the necklace snapped before he reached them. The silver airplane charm fell onto the marble floor and slid toward his shoes. Noah picked it up. His hand closed around it. The whole world seemed to narrow to that tiny piece of silver. He knew the scratch along the wing. He knew the bent tail. He knew the charm because he had carried it on his keys to 3 countries before giving it to Jasmine Reed in an airport hotel hallway 5 years ago. He looked at Jasmine. She was crying now. Then Ella looked up at him through tears and whispered, Daddy? Noah stopped breathing. The ballroom became so silent, the ocean beyond the terrace sounded loud. Victoria whispered, No. Noah looked at the child. What did you call me? Ella pointed at the charm in his hand. Mommy has your picture. She said you got lost. Jasmine covered her mouth. Noah's face shifted from shock to confusion to something raw and almost unbearable. Jasmine, he said. Victoria stepped between them fast. This is ridiculous. She's a child. She doesn't know what she's saying. Noah did not look away from Jasmine. Is she mine? Jasmine's shoulders trembled. 5 years of silence stood between them. 5 years of believing he had left. 5 years of working, feeding, crying quietly after Ella fell asleep. 5 years of telling her daughter that her father was not bad, just gone, because bitterness was not something she wanted to feed a child. She looked at the silver airplane charm in his hand, then at Ella. Yes, she whispered. The word broke the wedding. Victoria laughed sharply, too loudly. Of course she says yes. Look at her. She works in your house. She sees what you own. This is exactly what women like her do. Jasmine flinched, but this time Noah saw it. Really saw it. His voice went quiet. Do not speak about her like that. Victoria's face tightened. Noah, you cannot seriously believe a maid who appears with a child on her wedding day. Jasmine wiped her cheek. I didn't appear. I was hired. Noah looked at her. Why didn't you tell me? Pain crossed her face. I tried. The words hit him harder than the first truth. Jasmine reached into the small pocket of her apron and pulled out a folded, worn envelope. She had carried it for years, not every day. But today, because weddings make old wounds ache. Inside were 2 return letters, both addressed to Noah. Both addressed to Noah. Both unopened. Both marked undeliverable. I sent these after I found out I was pregnant, she said. Then a lawyer came. He said your family wanted no contact. He offered money. I refused. After that, my phone stopped reaching you. My apartment lease was suddenly terminated. I thought you knew. I thought you had chosen. Noah's face went pale. I never got them. Victoria said quickly, anyone could fake old letters. Noah turned to her slowly. How did you know there were letters? Victoria went still. The room seemed to inhale. I didn't, she said. You just said old letters. Her lips parted. Noah took 1 step toward her. What did you do? Victoria's perfect face cracked at the edges. Noah, your father was protecting you. She was a distraction. She was a hotel clerk. You had responsibilities. My father died 2 years ago, Noah said. I'm asking what you did. Victoria's eyes flashed. I helped clean up a mess. A shocked murmur moved through the guests. Jasmine pulled Ella closer. Noah stared as if he no longer recognized the woman in the wedding dress. What mess? Victoria pointed at Jasmine. Her. This. A woman you knew for a week who could have ruined everything you were building. Noah's voice dropped. She was pregnant. I didn't know that then. But you knew later. Victoria said nothing. Ella, still crying softly, looked at Noah and whispered, Pretty lady said I'm a mistake. That did it. Not the letters, not the necklace, not even the lie. The child's voice. Noah turned toward Victoria, and the man who had built an empire from discipline finally let the room see his anger. You said that to her? Victoria swallowed. She misunderstood. Ella shook her head. I didn't. Mrs. Whitmore, the old housekeeper, stepped forward from the side aisle. Her face was pale but determined. Mr. Harrington, she said, there is something else. Victoria snapped, stay out of this. Mrs. Whitmore ignored her. Your father's old attorney delivered documents here this morning. I was told not to disturb you before the ceremony, but after hearing this, she held out a sealed envelope. It includes records of payments made 5 years ago to a private investigator, to a relocation service, and to Miss Langley's family office. Victoria's face went white. Noah opened the envelope with shaking hands. Page after page, dates, transfers, names, Jasmine Reed, subject rebate, dates, transfers, names, Jasmine Reed, subject relocated, contact blocked, potential pregnancy risk, unresolved. Potential pregnancy risk. Noah looked like he had been struck. He turned to Jasmine. I didn't know. Her face crumpled. I wanted to hate you, she whispered. It would have been easier. He looked at Ella, who was still holding the broken chain near her chest. His daughter, 4 years old, standing in his ballroom, humiliated by the woman he almost married. Then Victoria made her final mistake. You can't throw away your life over a maid's child, she said. Noah's answer came quietly. She is my child. Victoria stared at him. The room went utterly still. Noah removed the wedding ring from his pocket and placed it on the nearest table. There will be no wedding. Victoria's face twisted. Noah, please, think about the guests. Think about the press. I am thinking about my daughter. You don't even know her. His voice broke then. Just slightly, because you helped take her from me. Victoria tried to reach for him. He stepped back. You didn't need to know who she was to treat her like a human being. The sentence landed like a door closing. Security did not drag Victoria out. Noah was too controlled for that. He simply asked Mrs. Whitmore to escort her to the bridal suite and told his attorney to make sure no guest recordings were suppressed. Victoria left the ballroom in the same white gown she had entered with, but she looked smaller now. Not humbled, exposed. Guests meased as she passed. Some looked ashamed. They should have. Because they had laughed when she called a child the help's child. They had watched a little girl cry and waited until blood made her important. Noah would remember that silence for a long time. After the guests were dismissed, Jasmine sat with Ella in the small sunroom off the kitchen. Ella's broken necklace lay on the table beside a glass of milk she had not touched. Clover sat in her lap, one ear twisted in her fingers. Noah stood outside the door for almost 5 minutes before knocking. Jasmine looked up. Yes. He entered slowly, as if the room belonged to them and he was asking permission to exist inside it. Ella watched him carefully. Noah crouched near the table, keeping distance. I'm sorry, he said. Ella looked at him. For the necklace? For the necklace, he said, and for not knowing, and for not finding you. Ella looked at Jasmine. Mommy said you got lost. Noah swallowed hard. She was kinder than I deserved. Jasmine's eyes filled again. I didn't want her growing up with anger. He looked at her with a grief that had no easy place to go. I searched for you, he said. Not enough. Not in the right ways. I believed what I was told because believing it hurt less than thinking you had been forced away. Jasmine was quiet. Ella picked up the silver airplane charm and held it toward him. Can you fix it? Noah accepted it like it was sacred. Yes, he whispered. I can fix this. Then Ella said, Can you fix being lost? That question broke him. He covered his mouth, turned his face away for 1 second, then looked back at her. I can try. The days after the wedding that never happened were not simple. Real life never becomes easy just because truth arrives. There were lawyers, DNA tests, public statements, quiet apologies from people who should have spoken sooner. The test confirmed what the necklace, the letters, and Ella's face had already told Noah's heart. Ella Reed was Ella Harrington, too. Noah did not demand anything from Jasmine. He did not try to buy forgiveness. He did not turn fatherhood into ownership. He asked, could he visit? Could he learn her favorite breakfast? Could he pay for the school Jasmine already wanted, not the one he thought sounded impressive? Could he sit with Ella in the garden while she explained which flowers were sad? Jasmine said yes, slowly. Not because he was rich, because he was patient, because he listened, because every time Ella reached for Jasmine first, Noah did not look wounded. He looked grateful that his daughter had been loved so well. The silver airplane necklace was repaired by a jeweler who had worked for the Harrington family for 40 years. When Noah returned it to Ella, he had added one tiny piece to the chain, a second charm, a little house with an open door. Ella held it up. "What's this?" Noah smiled softly. "For when people come back." She thought about that. "Do I have to live in a big house?" Jasmine tensed. Noah shook his head immediately. "No, you live with Mommy. Always. I just hope I can visit." Ella nodded. "You can come for pancakes." It was the first invitation his daughter ever gave him. He accepted it like a blessing. Months later, Harrington House hosted a different event. Not a wedding, not a society gala. A family foundation launch for single mothers working in hospitality created in Jasmine's name only after she argued it should include many women, not just her story. The program offered childcare support, legal help, housing grants, and education funding for hotel workers. Jasmine stood on the terrace that day in a navy dress, not a uniform, speaking to a small group of women who looked at her like maybe survival could become something more than exhaustion. Ella sat on Noah's shoulders, wearing her repaired airplane necklace and holding Clover by one ear. "Mommy is talking," she whispered proudly. Noah looked up at her. "She's very good at it. She says truth can be scary. She's right. But it's better than being lost." Noah's eyes moved to Jasmine, who was smiling now, not fully healed, not untouched by the past, but standing in sunlight with her own name on the program, her daughter laughing above the terrace, and the man who had been lost learning how to come back without demanding to be forgiven all at once. "Yes," he said quietly. "Much better." Harrington House changed after that. Not perfectly. No house built on old pride becomes gentle overnight. But the staff corridors were no longer hidden behind locked doors during events. Childcare rooms were created for workers' families. Mrs. Whitmore finally retired with a pension. Noah doubled after discovering how many years she had quietly protected people from his father's cruelty. And the ballroom, once remembered for the words, "She's just the help's child," became the place where Ella danced at the holiday party in a pink dress, dragging Noah by the hand because she said billionaires look silly when they didn't know the steps. He danced anyway, badly. Jasmine laughed so hard she had to wipe her eyes. Sometimes love returns as an apology. Sometimes truth arrives through a child's mouth. Sometimes the person everyone calls just the help is carrying the part of your life you were told was gone forever. Victoria had looked at Ella and seen a threat. The guests had looked at Ella and seen a staff child. But Noah, once he finally opened his eyes, saw what had been true all along. His daughter, a little girl with deep brown eyes, white ribbons in her curls, a stuffed bunny under one arm, and a silver airplane necklace that had traveled through lies, distance, pride, and pain to find its way back home. So maybe the question the story leaves behind is simple. How many people do we dismiss because of where they stand in the room? How many truths do we ignore because they come from someone without money, without status, without a seat at the table? And how many children are brave enough to say what adults spend years hiding? If this story touched your heart, like the video, comment where you're watching from, and subscribe for more emotional stories about courage, justice, and the quiet truths that change everything. And the next story begins when a billionaire's bride throws away a maid's envelope, not knowing the little boy has already read the name inside.